Welcome to Real Insights by Purple Carrot. And today's guest is actually, it's going to be my little brother, Liam Knight. And Liam is now 23. I hope I got that right, Liam. But when he was just 17 and going into year 12, he was attacked at a gate crash party where someone threw a 2.8 metre steel rod into a crowded group. And unfortunately for Liam, he was the one who was hit. Despite the pole piercing through Liam's skull, through the brain and out the other side, Liam survived. He still requires a significant amount of rehabilitation, but it's a far cry from death's doorsteps. Liam has since gone on to co-found his own charity, the White Knight Foundation, which focuses on youth prevention, and has completed his commerce degree. He's worked as a research analyst at a global retail property firm and now one of Australia's fastest growing insurance companies. Liam is inspiration to many people who are going through hardships. He'll take us through some of his work and some of the tools and techniques to overcome challenges. So Liam, mate, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I know your story pretty intimately, so I'm not going to talk about it.
Yep.
There's a lot of people out there who may not even know your story. Take us through what happened.
So when I was injured, I was 17 at the time. And at the time, I was a normal 17-year-old and loved surfing, loved rugby, just basically partied every weekend. I'm just a normal average kid. At my mate's 18th birthday party, about 11:30, was, from what I remember, it was a good night. Up until there's about, I think it was like 7 or 8 gatecrashers came in. They got invited by these girls. We didn't really know the girls. They were there to make up numbers. As you do when you're younger, and they invited these guys. We didn't know they were from a different area. They had been, I think they were drinking all day and were on drugs. They got denied entry by the bouncer, so 2 of them ran around the back fence, jumped on top of the shed roof where a bunch of building equipment was stored, and unfortunately they started throwing all the poles and equipment into the crowd. I copped a 2.8 steel metre rod through the head, so went in the right side, came out the left, and then it was just a big is he with us, is he not kind of situation. I ended up, when the fireys and things got there, they realised the pole was too big to actually fit into the ambulance. So they actually had to cut it with an angle grinder to actually get me in the ambulance while pouring water so it doesn't actually, heat up if anyone's done, metal work. And so rushed to hospital, was operated on for 5 hours. Then in a coma for, I believe, 12 days, and then in hospital for another month and a half, and rehab for another 3.5 months, where I had to learn basically everything over again. Learning how to walk, kind of relearn kind of talking again. The simple things of it's like being a child again. Learning how to cook for yourself, eat, all the simple things in life you take for granted. I had to basically relearn it at the age of 17.
So a lot of people, often ask, do you see the light? Because you, at the end of the day, we really didn't know whether you're going to survive or not. But being in a coma, do you remember anything?
Yeah, it was really weird. People always say, talk to people, when someone you know is in a coma, always speak to them because they can hear it. I always thought that was bollocks. Literally, I was like, there's no way this person's just asleep. I had the most vivid dreams. Obviously, they were pumping me with drugs, so these dreams were real vivid. But everything that I was saying, everything like you and my cousins and things like that was saying, was all being transferred into these dreams. And I can remember literally each dream to this day, and it was 6 years ago, of it always had something to do with a hospital or getting injured or something like that. And then I remember I was sitting in Freshie, and I think it was a hospital near there, and just my cousin was standing around the bed and just going, we need to find these people, let's go smash them. And then when I woke up from a coma, I was like, I thought I was hearing stuff like this. And they're like, no, that's exactly what people were saying. So I was like, this is news to me, that actually. So in terms of, being in a coma, seriously, if you ever have someone or someone in a coma, literally speak to them, because for me personally, it all got transferred in, and Yeah, it was kind of a different experience.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
But, I certainly don't want people listening to actually get into a coma because it's
No, God, no.
certainly not good.
Yeah.
But no, that's kind of freaky though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was it was a whole different experience. So yeah, it's kind of crazy to look back on and think that all happened to me, and it was all real.
Yeah, I actually remember when I arrived at the hospital, and do you remember that old show? I think it was like an American TV show, and he had a football head.
Oh, Arnold.
Hey Arnold.
Yeah, Arnold.
So I walked past this hospital bed and went, oh, look at that, poor bloke in there, because his head was huge.
Yeah.
Turns out it was you, because I saw our granddad sitting in the corner in tears, and really hit me. But obviously, look, you've had to overcome some pretty massive obstacles, learn to walk, talk, eat, do your shoes up, all the basic things, as you said, we take for granted. But take us back through that recovery. Just pick one or two things that you used to actually overcome a challenge that others might be able to also use to overcome their own, hardships.
Yeah, so I think one of the things I implemented that worked really well for me, which I actually spoke to one of your mates, Adzi. He told me to incorporate goal setting into my rehab. So I started setting myself kind of small goals and giving myself a realistic time limit that I can achieve these in. And that really just helped me overcome small obstacles to really get to the main goal. So I kind of looked at it as kind of like a metaphor of I'm standing in a room. I'm in this position in a wheelchair. The end goal is at the end wall, but how do I get there? There's all this furniture around, and each piece of furniture was an obstacle I had to overcome. So by breaking it down into small little achievable goals, I was able to fully achieve being able to walk again. And you can't go from point A to point D without breaking it down to little steps. You can't, run before you learn how to walk. So
Do you still use this today?
Absolutely. Even today, I recently had surgery to help fix, because I got a drop foot I got a real weak left side. So to be able to walk properly again, I got 6 months of rehab back on the cards, and I'm still using those kind of techniques of like literally just learning how to pick up my foot again in a certain manner. And it's just the smallest little things that are super frustrating, but setting small little goals and stuff that I realize that I can actually see in the differences has really helped me. It keeps your motivation up, because if you try to go straight to the top, well, you're going to get frustrated. So by doing little small achievable tasks, well, then you can really see the differences. In terms of a second tip, so that's the first one. I think goal setting is one of the best things ever. So for the second one, my one's more personal to me. Music really got me through it. Not that I can play. I can't play at all. But I just love listening to music. It really calms me down. Makes me actually being able to think, like, when I'm doing an exercise, if I'm listening to, say, Angus and Julia Stone or Daughter or something chilled out, then it makes me more relaxed. My muscles more relaxed. It just helps me personally, and it's a technique that I've used that really helps me overcome things.
I remember when we used to sit at the hospital and we used to play those games. We'd pick it's like we were in a maternity ward, because it was like hanging out with a kid. We didn't really know what to expect, and so we would put on music and try and give you a bit of a head start. Well, to be fair, you had a pole through the brain, so we thought, we didn't know what to expect. So, massive injury. We used to put that music on, and we'd have 10 seconds to work out what it was, and mate, you would nail it every time before we would, and genuinely to the point where we couldn't give you a handicap. We needed a handicap. So we realised from then on pretty early that fortunately, your memory was still pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
So that was a massive positive for us as a family, I guess.
Yeah, I still remember smashing all you guys. I remember you gave me a 10-second head start, and then you reduced it to 3 seconds, and then you and I going, yeah, nah, you're not getting any.
Yeah, and I think, fast forward it though, you know, back to normality. What are some of the tools you've had to use, you know, to get to where you are now? Like, not necessarily, like I'm talking, you know, what are some of the things that made you feel normal that everyone's sort of done?
To make me feel normal is, I think it's the people I surrounded myself with. They never treated me different. They kind of kept me level-headed, and didn't let me get a big head. One of my best mates, Eamon, literally when I woke up from the coma, he just started ripping into me saying I'm lazy and not getting out of the bed. And he met those guys just being around me and treating me as per normal. That kept me feeling, normal. And throughout the past 6 years, they've always treated me. We all go out together. I still try and do as many normal things as I can. I've been traveling. I want to keep going traveling, going out to the beach, doing all the normal things. And I think just having that normal day-to-day routine and just treating my own self as a normal person rather than sitting there feeling sorry for myself really keeps me in that mindset of just, we're sitting here. And
I think one of the cool things that we've done, as brothers, and there's two others, is we certainly have not let up on you. Liam said he has a not such a good left side, so we pin him down on his right side so he can't move, and throw punches into him there while we can, and then quickly bail because his right side's ridiculously strong now. But Liam, since the injury, obviously life changes. How, in terms of like your career and day-to-day stuff, did that change? So did what you want to do change because of the injury that happened?
Absolutely. I think this incident really affected somewhat opportunities, more just the way I have to approach things. It limits what I can do. And it's just kind of the realistic nature of it. You lose, the weakness in the left side, and, a lot of your opportunities do minimize. I did want to go into a trade before school because the idea of going to uni and stuff, I hated it. And seeing an office, because I love surfing, and one of the worst things is with this injury is that I want to get back into surfing, but it really affected that, and just those things. It definitely limited what I thought I would be able to do as a career perspective, and I did for a long time sit there and go, I don't know what I'm going to do for work. I'm not going to be able to work anymore. I seriously had no idea what I was
confused.
Yeah, literally. I sat there and I had no idea of, no one would put me on. Who's gonna want this guy? I literally did think that my opportunities were, really constricted, and it was a big worry at the very start for me.
So I mentioned at the start, you've done your now commerce degree, and you've actually, you've started a charity, and you're working. So how did you end up making that journey, I guess, from thinking, no one's going to pick me up, no one's going to take me on, and, this sounds, I don't mean it this way, but feeling sorry for yourself, to turning that around into a positive, saying, nah, bugger it, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z?
I think it was just one was the mindset of it just switched around, and me and you always talking about business and things like that. But, going out and networking and speaking to people, and then realizing people are really nice out there, and they're actually there to help you. And they want to, if you're able to speak to people and, be open and just, have a laugh at yourself and be able to, socialize and prove that you're all there and you're able to, do good work, people are always going to give the opportunity. And I think if you put yourself out there and start speaking to people and asking the questions of what do you do, how'd you get into it, what do you like about your job, or even just throwing yourself out there and going, oh yeah, do you mind if, you give me a go at this? And I think, speaking to people and asking the questions about the business and doing all that is what really got me there in the end.
But was it one moment that you just went from pure negativity to that light bulb moment, I've got to get out there?
I don't know if there was a big light bulb moment, but I know that when me and you started the White Knight Foundation, and we started doing good work, and I started doing school talks and things like that, and I started getting a lot of good responses, and I would sit at home and I wasn't, really working, but I would sit there and just like plug away on the laptop and start doing stuff on it. I think that's when I started changing the mindset of, geez, if I can do this, well, really, what's stopping me from doing anything else?
That's really interesting. And I've just sort of unpacking what you're saying, where I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve massive things when we probably just need, and you said this just before with the goal setting, just bite size. You didn't set yourself out to have a full-time job the next day. You sort of started working on your computer, doing presentations, going out and speaking to schools, and then from there built that confidence.
Absolutely. I remember when we started, we were like, geez, we want this like Australia-wide, we want this worldwide, we want to take over everything. And then
reality kicks in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you start thinking, okay, well, how about we just start local? And we started growing from there. And I think that's where, you kind of got to bring reel yourself back in and go, okay, we've got to look at this in a realistic perspective. I love dreaming about it. I love sitting there going, let's create a worldwide, charity and things like that. But then you also got to look at the reality of the situation and go, okay, let's start small and then kind of go bigger.
No, good advice. You mentioned before that you didn't really want to go to uni, yet you've now finished your commerce degree. What made you do that?
Yeah, so I went, I actually picked up a job when I was 19, I think, in insurance. And after a year, I knew it was an industry where I thought, okay, if I'm going to, it's either I'm going to stay in this, like, the rest of my life, or I just want to try some other stuff in. So I did so. I called my boss and said, I love working here, and it was the hardest decision, but I want to see what else is out there before I, put myself in here in this industry. I want to try other things, because I knew I was, would be a lifetime kind of thing. So I kind of realized after working for a year, I was like, a lot of people do kind of want that piece of paper. And I did also, I thought I really enjoyed the business side of things and I wanted to learn about it. At school, I did really well in business, and I didn't love reading books on it and listen to podcasts and things like that. And yeah, I just kind of thought, my mindset has changed to now I really want to go. It wasn't like my other mates just went for the sake of going, which I think a lot of uni students do. They just think, we don't know what to do, let's just go straight to uni because that's the way it's meant to go. That's like the idea you're meant to, that's kind of like the path you're meant to take.
So what would you say to those ones thinking that right now?
If you don't really want to go there and you're just going for the sake of it, don't bother. Try other things. Try and get into an internship or something, or just try different areas, industries. Just ask around, just say, do you mind if I work in, as an intern or for free, just so I get a feel for the industry and whether you like it or not. Because you might go in and you might do a 3-year degree and then you get into the job and go, I hate it. So you may as well just put yourself out there and say, can I work for, a month just so I get a feel for it, and then work, and then just, dip your fingers in each pie and just go, that's the one I like. Right, and then if you do enjoy it, then maybe go to that course in uni. Try before you buy kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good advice. Now that you're back in insurance after trialing another industry, in property, are you glad is your degree benefited you?
Personally, I learned a lot from more just the experience. So uni, don't get me wrong, I learned a fair bit in it, but I thought I was going to learn a lot more. And I think I learned a lot more on the job than sitting in a classroom and just, they set these assignments and then I look at them and go, I never really used any of these tools. They go, oh yeah, you got to use this theory. And you're like, this is a theory that I've never heard in the workplace. And
what about blended learning, practical and the uni component?
I think definitely. I think that would be a way more beneficial. I guess there's definitely industries that do that. like nurses and paramedics and things like that, like the actual people who need to go there and learn it, and then they also do on the job as well. But I think if you can, because I was working full time and studying full time as well, and what I was doing for my research analyst role wasn't really like I was trying to incorporate it, but it was just kind of different. So personally, uni didn't get a whole lot out of it, I think. So looking back, maybe I wouldn't have gone, but I'm glad I did in the end.
Oh, good. So we're 6 years down since your injury, and you've got a pretty good job now. You're pretty happy. You have a music tattoo on your foot because you froth on music. But what are some of the other tools and techniques that you could pass on going through hardships now into your real world and university? Like, what are some of the tips you could pass on to others?
Kind of have an open mind and speak to people about everything. Get a feel for the different industries, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Going with a positive outlook on anything you do. I think that's what's got me through everything. It's really just a real mindset thing. When I was in rehab, I met a lot of people who kind of just gave up, and it was really these type of injuries. You can either fall over and just give up and kind of go into a state of depression. You don't want to deal with anyone. That's it. And then I just kind of went, nah, I don't want to be one of those. I don't want to feel bad for myself. I set myself goals of going back to school, finishing in that same year, going back to surfing, things like that. And I just thought the only way I can get past that is just a positive mindset and just getting on with it. So, things happen. You get dealt an ordinary hand, but then if you just work out a way around it, I think that's the best thing you can do.
You've been very positive about the whole thing, and there was no doubt there's probably been dark times. But what I think what worked for the family is your positivity. But how did you actually become so positive towards it? Like, was it like, I don't know, if you forgave the person? Is it just something that you just, I know you've always been quite positive, but geez, when you've gone through what you've had, it's very hard to remain positive.
Mate, you know me, I've always been a very positive, very happy guy. Nothing really fazed me. And I think that just carried on. And then I just went, just get on with it. In my mind, I was just like, get on with it. I think having you guys around and my mates just ripping into me and just being able to just muck around still, I think I'm one of the lucky ones. I have such a good network around me that I was able to do that. And for some reason, I just enjoyed mucking around and obviously, I just never took myself too seriously. And I think that's the only way that got me. That's why I'm so positive I got myself through it. I just went, just have fun with it. You like, seriously. I just kind of just sat there and just went, get over it. And that was my mindset. And I don't know how to explain it. It was just that's it.
You had a pretty public story given the injury. Is there still that, the public image, is it still there at the moment?
Not as much. Nowhere near. Like, I used to go down to Manly and then you would have heaps of people coming up to me. Now I do still get that, but not that much. I still, because it's been re-uploaded, my 60-minute story on YouTube, I do still get messages from people around the world. Just blew up in America, and then I was getting messages from everywhere. Like, what is, like, Buenos Aires? And I was like, hello. It's definitely died down, and I'm pretty happy about that, to be honest. Yeah, it's especially with the white knight stuff, and I always had this pressure on me of when I would go out, I felt like I wasn't able to have a few beers because I was always worried people would be like, he's representing the foundation, things like that, and kind of everyone in the area knew my name and knew the face. So now it's kind of died down. I can muck around and I can still get the work done with the white knight, and it's nice to be able to just walk around and just be like, there's that dude we kind of remember from somewhere, but we don't know where.
Yeah, I hate that, hey?
Yeah, because people I used to see people, and then I was at Warringah Mall, and and I was just waiting outside the outside Hoyt's at the movies, and then you look over and you see some old lady, and she's like pointing at the head, pointing at me, and being like, "Oh, there it is. That's the guy who got the pole." I'm like, Jesus, okay, I'm now pole boy.
Well, good name that. So, as I said, we're 6 years down, and you don't have that public image like you, thankfully, because you don't want it. But I mean, going through what we spoke about before, like all your career and things like that, was there any particular thing you used or to get into insurance? Did someone tap you on the shoulder, or was there a platform you used, or is there books you read to get into what you wanted to do?
In insurance, I pretty much just fell into it. Local guy who I knew just kind of saw me out, and then just tapped me on the shoulder and went, "I want you working for me." And I was like, "Sorry, what?" And then he just said, "No, you're a fighter. I want people like you working for me."
How good.
Yeah. So I was really lucky in that instance. So that's how I got into the insurance industry. In terms of once I left there and I started going, I want to try other industries, I started networking, and I had a mentor, and we just met because when I was learning how to surf again, he was just a good bloke. We got on really well, and I kind of go to him for all my advice and speaking to him, and if I got any challenges in the workplace or anything like that, I go to him because he just helps me. He's been through it all, and he's like a real big help for me. So I got lucky with him, and then when he had lunches or stuff like that, I would ask if I could come along, or he would give me an idea of an industry, and he's like, "Well, I'm meeting up with this person. Do you want to come along?" And I'll say, "Yeah, okay." Or I would say, "Can you put me in touch?" And I think that's the best thing you can do is just ask the questions and use your networks around you.
What do you do if you don't have the networks around you? What do you do if you're a more introverted person who doesn't want to speak to that many people? What can you use?
I think there's a lot of kind of like social media tools like LinkedIn and things like that. I personally don't really use all that, but it's really good for being able to connect and get an idea of different industries and being able to send messages to these people as well. So if you're an introverted person, definitely. But even like speaking to your parents and speaking to their friends, and you don't have to go out and like go to networking events and because that stuff is very intimidating. I kind of hate that, but at the same time, for an introverted person, it might be a bit, "How you going?" But for an extroverted person like myself, they work really well. But for me personally, that kind of mentor and just asking questions and just trying to, asking your parents, friends, and things like that. Just to see what their industries are and how they can help or who they know. I think that's the best you can do to get into different industries.
So, and where now? What does the future hold?
Mate, just working hard. So I'm back in insurance, as you said earlier. Not too sure. I'm just going to work hard in this, and then I wouldn't mind just doing a lot more traveling. I think I want to get myself a lot better. And I'll
physically?
Physically, so I can go traveling more. I've done, Europe for a couple of months. I've done hiking in Sri Lanka and things like that. But I think if I can get my left side a lot stronger, which is what I had this surgery for, and I'll probably have more down in the future, I would really love to go down and be like, I've been given this second chance at life, and I kind of, want to work hard, earn the money, and then be able to kind of use that money for something that I really want to do. So I think that's definitely on the cards in the future.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone even like yourself who never really knew what they want to do and sometimes still don't, what can you say to them?
I remember when I was younger, I was so confused and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I think it's just all about giving it a go and just researching kind of, if you're that unsure, and if I went back in time and I had no idea what I wanted to do, just try and get internships everywhere and just be like, okay, I like sport, so I might try and get an industry in a spot in, surf life saving like you did and things like that. It's just trying different industries and just to see what sticks and what you don't like, and so you can rule things out and you can rule things in.
No, I love it. Well, mate, no doubt still a bright future. But, mate, really appreciate you taking us on a bit of a journey, or your journey, because it is certainly inspiring for a lot of people. And I've no doubt that there's going to be a lot of people out there listening and watching this thinking, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And I think the ones who, you know, who are going through those hardships can take some of those tools and techniques that you offered today on board. But for everyone else, thank you again for joining. And make sure you like and subscribe our YouTube channels, our social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast stations. And make sure you subscribe to purplecarrot.com. That's carrot with a K. And we'll catch you next time.